Afternoon, folks. I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School, back down here at the Pathfinder Outdoor Classroom. We just finished up 2 events this weekend at the same time. We had a team building event down here with Global Energy LLC. Went through some exercises with them for the weekend and taught them some team building type exercises, problem solving type exercises, and things of that nature that were all survival related. That was really good. And we also had a wilderness first aid certification course down here because we are a Red Cross training facility. And that was mostly people that are in our instructor pipeline. So 4 or 5 guys that were in our instructor pipeline had to get their WFA to help complete their certification course. And they were here doing that this weekend. And we had 8 or 9, 10 guys, I think it was, from Global Energy LLC that were out here for a team building event. So we had 2 things going on simultaneously. Worked out really well. We had a great time. Kept me from getting videos up Friday, Saturday, Sunday, things like that. So what I wanted to do today was I wanted to get a video out for you guys. And a lot of my stuff is educational. So they don't get a lot of views sometimes, but that's not why I put videos up. I put videos up to get information out there. And one of the things that I strive to do is to really dial in every aspect of survivability and self-reliance when it comes to that down and dirty skill set that a woodsman should have. And so I have a large series of videos on navigation. Well, recently I've taken an interest in a tool that I think relates directly to navigation that will absolutely help you become more self-reliant with your navigational kit that I want to talk to you about today. Stay with me. Okay, so my navigational kit is the same one that we sell on our website at selfrelianceoutfitters.com. And it's basically a Dyneema pouch that is a map pouch. I've got one to 24,000 map in here, 1 to 10,000 maps in here for 2 different areas that I work in. And then it has a pouch on the back side of it here. That's a zipper pocket that you can store notebooks, pens, pencils, protractors, those type implements. So one of the things that I find when we teach navigation out here in school, no matter what level of navigation we're teaching, once you get beyond the basic level, you need to figure out things like your pace count. How many meters is your pace count? How many paces to 100 meters? How many paces is it going to take to walk a certain amount of meters? And all of these things take calculations that most people either don't remember how to do by hand completely, or they rely on a calculator, or they rely on their phone. So all of this stuff relies on an electronic device or a very good handle on mathematics in general. And so something that's piqued my interest as of late has been what's called the slide rule, okay? And this is a very small 6-inch plastic slide rule. And this was more of a student model slide rule. It's called the Model 27 slide rule. You cannot buy these brand new anymore. It doesn't seem like. I looked around and I couldn't find one. But you can find a lot of them used at a very reasonable price. I think I got this one for about 20 bucks with the packaging and the instructions. And these were probably from the 1960s because in the late 1960s, once Hewlett-Packard came out with the calculator, the handheld calculator, these fell out of favor. However, for a long time, including putting a man on the moon, this was used to make calculations. So it will do more complicated calculations like trigonometry and things of that nature, square roots, all that stuff it will do, sine, cosine, but the most basic functions of this tool are multiplication and division. And those are really the only things you're going to need for basic navigation. So you can have something the size of a ruler, a 6-inch ruler, about the same thickness as a 6-inch ruler in your bag. And you can use it as a straight edge if you need to, but it gives you on-the-fly quick calculations once you understand how to use it. Now, I am by no means in any way, shape, or form any kind of an expert with this thing. I just started playing with it recently, and it took me 2 or 3 days to even get my mind wrapped around halfway how the thing works. But I'm pretty confident now that I can figure out basic multiplication and division that I would use in a map reading problem or a route planning problem. So that's kind of what I wanted to walk you through today. We're not going to talk about how this thing actually works, but I will show you the calculations of where the answers are in this thing so that you understand once you get used to something like this, again, you avoid the calculator, you avoid the phone, you avoid the batteries and the electronics, and you don't have to keep all of that in your head or do long form math because this will do it for you very quick and easily, okay? And it's, again, very, very small. So stay with me. we'll take a look at this slide rule for navigation today. Okay, so the device looks very complicated in nature, and it truly is a complicated device, and it takes a little bit of a learning curve to understand how to use it. But it has scales on it that are logarithmic, and you don't use all of the scales for most calculations that we're going to need. The scales you're going to use are the C scale, which is here on the slide itself, and the D scale, which is here at the bottom. It's a fixed scale. And then you have a sliding clear window here with a hairline in the middle of that, okay? That's what we're going to use for most of our calculations, reading off of the D scale for our answer the majority of the time. So let's just take a simple problem like I want to know how many meters I walk per pace, okay? So I go out and I walk 100 meters. I walk 100 meters uphill, downhill, side hill, muddy ground, all that kind of stuff, and I divide all of that out, and I figure out that my pace count boils down to an average of 62 paces for 100 meters, okay? That's my average pace count. Now I want to know from that 62, how many meters is that per pace? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to, first of all, look at this scale knowing that this is 100 right here, okay? It can be 10, it could be 0.01, it's all in multiples of 10, and you have to understand decimal place. So if I'm just using a space of 10 from 1 to 9 here, or from 9 to 10, that's a 100 meter space, okay? Because that's the way I'm looking at it. That's my measurement system, is this is 100 meters. The scale above that on the C scale, I'm gonna put 62 on that same line because I've walked 62 steps for that 100 meters, okay? All right, so now I go down to this D scale, and this is where my answer is going to be. So this is 1, and then this is 1.1, 1.2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And when I go to the 1 here, not the C1 on the scale, but the 1 here, all right, I get 0.6. So 1.6 is how many meters I walk per pace if I walk 62 paces for 100 meters. Now all I have to do is remember that 1.6 from here on out, and the calculations will become easy. But that's the initial calculation, figuring there's a 100 meter span there. So I put the crosshair on that. I put 62 on that, 60 plus 1 tick mark because there's 10 tick marks in between these 100 right here between 6 and 7, all right? So I'm at 62 for 100 meters. I go to my D scale at the bottom. I look at the C1 and I'm at 6, so that's 1.12345, okay? When you run that on a calculator, it's 1.61. Okay, so for simple math, this thing's kind of a direct read situation. So just to give you an example of how this works really quick, you've got this 1 on the side here, and there's 1 there, and there's another one on this side, on the C scale. And that is your placeholder basically for the next number you're going to use. And I'll give you an example. Let's say that 7 is going to be my multiplier for simple math, okay? So I'm on the 7, and if I move this to, let's just say the 6, then the direct reading underneath that is going to be 42, all right? 6 times 7 is 42. So I've got 7 here, 6 here, times 7, that's 42. Pretty simple. If I move this up to, let's say I move this up to 6, and I move this up to 6, then I'm going to get 36. 5 times 7, so I've got this on the 5, I've got this on the 7, 35. Halfway between the 3 and the 4, 35. That could be 350. That could be 450. It could be 0.3. It could be 0.4. You have to kind of decide that for yourself and put your decimals and zeros in, all right? This is just giving you a base 10 situation. But that gives you lots of versatility, and it gives you, back here on this scale where you've got things broken down better in smaller numbers, it gives you that 1.6 that you need, 1 being here, 6 being here. It also gives you numbers here that start at 1 and go 100, 110, 20, 30, or 200, 250 would be right. I'll put the black cursor over it for you so you can see it. That would be 250. So then you've got divisions in between there, 225 being here. So these are 5-degree increments. So let's take a division problem real quick that we might use as a pace count situation. Let's say that our leg that we're going to travel is going to be 300 meters. So we'll put this on a 3 because that's what we're trying to figure out is 300 meters. And our pace count is 1.6. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put the 1.6 directly on here, just like this. Oops, sorry, bumped it there. And then we're going to read the scale to the C1, which is our placeholder. So it's opposite of multiplication. So you've got 100, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 190 or 189-ish, somewhere in that neighborhood. And we can do the math and figure out what that is. All right, so I said 189 is what I said, and the math comes out 187.5. So you're looking at 1.5 paces off of a pretty exact equation there very, very quickly. Let's change the game up a little bit on this and say that we're going to go, let's take something smaller. Let's say 250 meters. And we're going to move this 1.6 right over top of that, just like this at 250. And we're going to read this scale to the C1 marker. So we've got 100, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 52, 54, 55-ish, somewhere in that neighborhood, 50. So 155 paces. Let's do the math. All right, the exact math came out on that at 156.25. So you look at that up close. Now that I've got it blown up in the camera, I can see it better. So you've got 100, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And each one of these marks to worth 2, 2, 4, 6. So 156 is the answer with good vision. And 156.25 is the division on the calculator. So this is a very quick and easy tool once you understand how to use it to be able to do quick multiplication and division. And if nothing else but for route planning purposes, if you understand how to factor your pace count and see how many meters you are per pace, and understand how to divide these legs by your meters walked so that you know how many paces you have to walk, and that's the key to that, is understanding the paces. You're way ahead of the game for something that weighs nothing and takes that very, very little room in your kit. Now, if you want to look at some real simple math here, all right, you can go take this and go 7, put this over the 7, and you want to divide that by 2. So take this down and take this to the 2. There you go. And your answer is going to be 3.5, all right? Very, very simple math to do in your head, but it verifies that what you're doing is correct with the slide rule, okay? Let's try another one like 9 divided by 4, okay? So let's go, we'll take this to the 9, just like this, put it on top of the 9, and we'll bring this over to the 4. So we got 4 over 9. And now we go to our C scale, and we are at 2, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 2.25, 2.25, 2.25. Let's see what we come up with on the math. Okay, the math on that comes out to exactly 2.25. So you can see that it's a very useful tool. All right, let's do one more, and let's say that we're going to walk 400 and let's make it a little bit difficult. Let's say 425. Let's get a weird number here. So we go right in between the 50 and the 4 there. We're going to be at 25. So we got about right there. Okay. Plug our pace count in at 1.6 above that. Now if we look at our scale, we're at 250, 260, 265. So 265 is what I'm calling it, ish. Let's see what the math says. All right, the math on that is 265.6. And if you look really close at that thing, it's just a little bit over that mark. So you've got, starting at the 2, there's the 250, 260, 265 at the smallest tick. 270 would be the next tick, and we're just a little bit over the 265, and 266 is the math. Pretty good. All right, guys, listen, I apologize that this video is going up a little bit late today. It started pouring down rain, and I had something I had to run out and do with my buddy Luciano, who's here from Italy, who just took 2 of our classes in a row, and he's going back to Italy tomorrow. I had to run out and do some things with him while it was raining. Came back, had to change clothes because I was soaking wet, and decided that I would go ahead and shoot the rest of this video tonight and get it up for you. I'm all about the educational videos. I'm all about doing things that other people haven't thought of. And I've never seen anyone talk about slide rules in a navigation kit, but I think that would be a very smart carry, and an expensive carry, a lightweight carry, not much bulk to it, and it would save you a lot of time and energy if you had to do things by hand out in the field with map reading. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your support. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our family, for our business, all of our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends, and I will be back with another video as soon as I can, guys. Thanks.